This is really a story about preservation, about how something survived against all odds. We're talking about classical Ayurveda, a profound system of knowledge that made it through not by changing with the times, but by holding on to its principles. Let's dive in. This one line, it really sets the stage for a period of incredible challenge. And you have to understand, this wasn't some slow, natural decline. It was a deliberate, active silencing of a science that had been alive and well for thousands of years. And this is the part we absolutely have to get right. The pressure on Ayurveda wasn't because it stopped working, not at all. It was a direct consequence of its integrity, its refusal to bend its core principles just to be more convenient or, more easily accepted. So how did this actually happen? Well, the marginalization was systematic. It was widespread, and it was really designed to remove this knowledge from public life, from the public mind. Just look at how comprehensive this was. When you take it out of the classrooms, you cut off its future. When you erase it from hospitals, you remove its practice in the here and now. Dismissing it as irrelevant, well, that's an attack on its very intellectual foundation. And then, stripping its physicians, the Vaidyas, of respect, that undermines the human trust that the whole system is built on. The thing is, this went way beyond just policy. It was a psychological campaign. I mean, can you imagine being told that the wisdom your own ancestors cultivated, the very thing they relied on, was suddenly worthless? It was a profound attempt to break the chain of cultural confidence. And yet, despite all that immense pressure, the flame didn't go out everywhere. One region, one place, became a sanctuary. The real question is, why? How did that happen? The answer is Kerala. This region became this unlikely stronghold where the classical tradition wasn't just, remembered in books. It was actively protected. It was practiced without compromise. Now, this survival was no accident. It was structural. Cultural courage means you had a society that genuinely valued its own indigenous systems. Royal patronage, that gave it the resources and the official protection to withstand all those external forces. And the resistance, this is interesting, it wasn't loud or flashy. It was a quiet, firm, stubborn refusal to abandon its own heritage. And this is probably the most crucial point of all. The preservation wasn't centered on big buildings or formal institutions, because those can be torn down. Instead, the knowledge was embedded in something far more resilient: people. It was carried in the minds and in the hands of its practitioners. Okay, so if the knowledge survived in people, then who exactly were these guardians? Because they weren't just practitioners. They were custodians of a truly sacred responsibility. We are literally talking about a handful of traditional families. For them, preserving this science wasn't a career choice. It was a sacred duty, a profound burden that was passed down from one generation to the next. This slide just illustrates the difference in mindset perfectly. On the left, you got the motivations of these guardian families. It's all about duty, continuity, trust. And on the right, you have the more common stuff: money, fame, external rewards. This absolute commitment to internal principles. That is precisely why the knowledge survived intact. It simply wasn't for sale. And here's the mechanism they used: the Guru Shishya Parampara. Now, this isn't classroom learning. It's a deep, immersive transmission of knowledge, from master to apprentice. It's a system where the character and the competence of the student were rigorously filtered. Who you were was just as important as what you could learn. The discipline this required was absolute. This whole method was a filter for seriousness and commitment. There were no weekend courses, no summarized PDFs. The knowledge was transmitted in its full, unadulterated depth and complexity. It was all about ensuring its purity was maintained. This was about quality, never, ever about quantity. Now, all of this might sound like something from ancient history, but it's not. This unbroken chain of knowledge has a living, breathing presence today, and it offers tangible proof of this incredible story of survival. So you have the Ashtavaidya tradition of Kerala, a lineage of 8 physician families. They are the direct result of this continuity. And listen, they are not reviving anything, they are practicing an unbroken tradition. They represent a stream of knowledge that simply never ran dry. And to make this really concrete, we can look at specific examples. A lineage like the Pulamanthul Moose family, they serve as a living case study. They are the evidence that the survival was the direct result of a conscious, multi-generational decision to guard this knowledge. And this brings us right back to the central point of this whole explainer. Revival implies that you're piecing something broken back together. Survival means you protected a flame that was never, ever allowed to go out. The classical tradition wasn't lost, it was held in trust. So, what does this history actually mean for us, right now? Well, it shifts the focus. It's not just about consuming knowledge anymore. It's about understanding the responsibility that comes with it. This is such a powerful idea. Access to this deep, authentic knowledge isn't a birthright. It's not something you can just buy off a shelf. It has to be earned. Earned through dedication, through discipline, and with the right intention. The exact same qualities its guardians showed for centuries. If you take only one single thing away from this, please let it be this. The authenticity that we have access to today exists because a few people chose preservation over popularity. They understood that real value doesn't need mass approval. It needs dedicated protection. And so that burden of protection, it now passes to the serious students and practitioners of today. And it requires the humility to honor the purity of the tradition and the courage to uphold its standards in a world that, let's be honest, often prefers the easy way out. And so we end right here. With this quiet but firm understanding, the classical Ayurveda that seems to be reemerging. It's not making a comeback. It was always here, held safely in trust by its guardians. It's an unbroken thread of wisdom. It never, ever left.